Naomi Reed, Megan Firestone, Paulette Taylor, Marsha Farney, and Mittie Miller. I just first want to give each of you a chance to, if any of you have anything that you want to remark on or reflect on, or anything you wanted to add to what you heard in the film. So first, I'll let you respond before we then open it up to any questions that you might have.
Number one, I know you, my name is Mittie, of course. You probably saw when I say I thank God for my parents. They really taught me my history. And one of the things that I always admired for back in the day, we would always run to the mailbox to get this little book right here, Jet Magazine. And it provided us with a lot of history. And that's how based on my history that I learned throughout the year was through that. Also, if you don't mind, I want to say their names. They said that there was 29 people that on the plaintiff, but I think it was 30, so maybe one didn't show up. But I'd like to just read their names if you don't mind. I believe in giving recognitions to who is due. So out of that, besides my sister, Crystal Ann Miller, Linda Susan Miller, Mittie Catherine Miller, Louis Martinez, Bruce Miller, Johnny MacArthur Miller, Jesse Fisher Jr., Kathy Fisher, Geneva Fisher. I believe we have Geneva here. We have Barbara Perry, Cora Marie Brown. There she is, Linda Darnell Rose, Mary Inez Rose, Thomas Huddleston, Mittie Bell Huddleston, Van Shanklin Jr., Frank E. Shanklin, Beverly Fisher, Patsy Fisher, Lester Fisher, Billy Ray Campbell, Rhoda Campbell, Jennifer Linda Campbell, Diane Jefferson, Sharon Bailey, Catherine Bailey, Lenora Taylor, Paulette Hickerson, Eleanor Johnson, Albert James Head. So those were the other plaintiffs that actually was in the complaint. So it just wasn't the Miller sisters, we had other ones. Thank you.
Thank you, Mittie, for sharing all those who were involved in the lawsuit. Put your names on the line.
I'm Marsha Farney, and I want one of those T-shirts. I love it. It was such an honor to do this research and to learn this important story. And the connotation that I brought to this when I wrote the dissertation was it's like peering through the window of time, and we don't make judgments on other people as much as we look and we learn and hopefully grow from those experiences. I am so honored to be sitting up here with this group of people. I love these ladies and what they've gone through, and they are my sisters, and the work that they put in. Matter of fact, the African American community operated with dignity and respect and honor as they pushed through to get something done, and they followed the legal system. And that didn't happen in every community. They were peaceful but forceful leaders, and they changed Georgetown for the better. So I think they did a great job.
Where do I begin? Segregation wasn't painful. You don't miss what you've never had until you become aware of what you've missed. For almost now 8 decades, I've lived in Georgetown, delivered by Dr. Dickey and Taylor. When I wanted to know history or something in the past, other than what Marsha wrote in her dissertation, I'd call Dr. Bonneau. And he'd say, come on over, and I'll tell you about when the FBI came to Georgetown. So I knew I had hot news. But growing up in Georgetown, the ups and downs, as I called it, the good, the bad, and the ugly. We appreciated what we had. All I ever wanted when I went to enroll at Georgetown High School was a typing class. We had one typewriter at Carver in the principal's office. So I anticipated if I got a typing class, not college, there was a chance I could get to Nixon Clay in Austin. Maybe because I had really good penmanship, I was told, and I had done UIL and all of that. So my goal was to get a typing class and be obedient to whatever Harvey Miller said. I have a history, and I have a book to write, and everybody's always telling me, start writing. The person that initially told me to do that was Linda's mother, Clara Scarborough. When we were on a panel discussion at Southwestern, she said, Paulette, start writing. It's imperative that you write about it. And I need to before I forget it. There are other things and other factors that affected my growing up, but I appreciate, like the Negro School of Fine Arts. I must tell this, as they were viewing the committee with Dr. Spellman, there was another at Southwestern, Dr. Iola Bowden, a music professor, and I always wondered, what did she have to go through in order to get music students like Nettie Ruth Bratton, my dear friend, 97, 98 at the Westland, who was one of the teachers, to get white students to teach black students music, piano lessons. And what did she go through with all kinds of things from the university or community? But she was effective. And I think till 1960, from 1946 was the first class graduating. And we have one person I know, Joan Clark, was one of the graduates that still lives. I'm going to stop talking and let somebody else talk, because I'll keep going and going and going.
I think for me, it's my honor to be part of this group and to be interviewed and to tell this story. I get the honor every day of preserving the records that tell these stories, and that's what I tell the students who attend Southwestern and come through us day to day, is that these records aren't here to be hidden away. We're not keeping them locked up. We're keeping them preserved so that the stories and the experiences live on, and that we are here to learn from them. And every day we try to find new ways of making them available. We're working to we just finished digitizing all of the interviews done by Dr. Martha Allen and her students for the Negro Fine Arts School. So we will be making those voices available again that have sat on cassette tapes since the early 90s, plus other voices of Georgetown. And so that's the honor that I get every day, and this video gets to show.
I'll just say I'm also honored to be up here. When Keith first approached me, I do have scholarship background in race and education, but primarily in the Houston area, which is where I'm from. And I haven't had similar experiences. People in my family have had similar experiences to these folks. But it really drew my attention to what was happening in a small town context, whereas most of my knowledge was about major cities and major players. And really, it kind of shows that everyday people are really what make change, right? And the courage that you have to have when you come from a small town to do those types of things. Coming from a legacy of educators, I've heard lots of stories of issues from desegregation, crosses being burned in family members' yards. But somehow it seems even more daunting in Georgetown versus a large black suburb in Houston, right? So it's important to know all those stories. Like, this should have been a documentary a long time ago. No shade to Keith, but I thank you for including me because I've learned so much.
Thank you all for sharing your reflections and thoughts on the film. We want to open it now up to any questions that you may have to any of our panelists, or any comments that you may want to make. And Beth is back here with a microphone to just raise your hand and she'll come to you.
Alan Bembury, grandson of Harvey Miller. I've heard the story all my life, so I had a question for you ladies and for anybody who was in here. So I seen where we didn't really hear too much about the cross burning too much growing up. Granddad didn't really talk about that much. Was there a sense of fear during that time in the Black community, while all that was going on in the courts and stuff? Did you guys have some type of fear that you were feeling?
This just wasn't when I was growing up. O&W Sherrill was the realtor here in Georgetown that my aunt worked for, who helped my husband and I get a house on Boothers Road. And that beautiful home that we built was sprayed with KKK, orange paint, 3 big orange Ks. And that grew fear. Not so much as to move, but I remember people like Skip Morse who came and washed that paint from my house. And all of my family, about 6 or 7 of them, said, we're spending the night here because if they come back, they're gonna have to take us all out. But that drew fear. That was in the 70s. That's when the lake was the lake was being built. Probably 76 Darwin's one, 77. So that was pretty late, but I shall never forget those 3 bright orange Ks on my house.
We'd like to get you on the mic so we can get, we're recording.
I don't care who answers this. Can you tell me a little bit about the Blue Hole? Did you ever go swimming there?
I kind of think that's where the ridge got its name, because of that bluff. And it sat, as you crossed the bridges, you could see the school. And right below the school was the entrance to the Blue Hole, which was just a part of San Gabriel River. But that was our swimming hole and our fishing hole. And at the end of the school year in May, everybody went to the Blue Hole to swim. As far as the origin of the name Blue Hole, I don't know. Maybe, Linda, do you know? Yeah. I asked Linda because her father was the editor of the paper, Don Scarborough.
I want to say regarding that one, I can't remember. And of course, I probably was in the. Okay, so I'm 10 years younger than she is. So I remember just a sad occasion that a couple of times some guys that went swimming and someone ended up drowning there. Yes, that's what
That
I
was
saying
Deanie
now.
Brooks. My husband was the last one to touch him because there was a lot of sinkholes there in the Blue Hole, but they swam anyway. And your uncle, Austin Miller,
Okay,
retrieved his body.
I just remember that.
This gentleman,
Southwestern, was Southwestern integrated at the start of this, or when did it integrate? Or was it always integrated?
So Southwestern integrates after. The students, so the Negro Fine Arts School is one way that a number of faculty like Ilo Bowden and students were trying to find ways to integrate or work through their thoughts. And then the students kind of formed their own committee for better schools, and they informed President Fleming that they would like to integrate the school, and they take that to the board. It takes some time, and in fact, our first student is in 1965. Yes, 1965. Ernest Clark, who's a member of the Negro Fine Arts School, is when Southwestern finally integrates. So we were not integrated during the same when this is all going on.
I'd like to thank each and every, you don't want me to ask the question? I'd like to thank each and every one of you for giving us insights into what happened back then. But I want to ask a question that is more contemporaneous. You talked about the Track Ridge, Grasshopper area, neighborhood, and the neighborhood plan that was developed just a few years ago. I'd like to hear more about the TRG and maybe some of the challenges that we're facing today, where we really need to wake up and look at what's happening. Could we hear something about that?
TRG, track, which is the area past University, what's that, University Avenue? Yeah, well, the track, well, you have to understand, the railroad tracks divided us, running from what, 2nd Street all the way to Leander, right in front of our city hall. The Grasshopper was the lower area by Chautauqua Park. In that area, I remember Adolph Barrera store and all of that area. And of course, the Ridge was West Street and where Martin Luther King former Timber Street. When we became organized and went before the city, and I'm a part of the TRG committee, Dr. Swain and some others in the audience, it was to have an organized body to recognize the marginalized and to look at housing, any of those things that comprise a need in that community. But we had a formulated body to work with. And it's been a struggle. It's been a struggle because right now, today, and I don't want to get on my soapbox, Chautauqua Park is not really a park because the city has removed all of the park benches and the pavilions. There are a lot of things that we need to, and we are the voice. We resonate our concerns or others' concerns through us sometimes. We are the voice of the community. Voting, whether it's voting, housing, because we've got big houses that are coming up and Airbnbs. A lot of things in the city that conditions that we face, that TRG is facing. I don't want to go into all of that detail of politics, but the same problems that TRG faces, and I see Christina Calistro in the audience, other areas like San Jose are facing as well. And so we become organized bodies to represent those communities. I'm sorry.
I just want to elaborate a little thing. Did I cut it off? I don't live in Georgetown, so it's a lot of things I don't know. I recall that I didn't get to go to integrated school here because that was when they was taking it class by class, and by the time it would have got to me, I would have graduated. So my parents ended up moving to San Marcos, Texas. My dad got a job at Gary Job Corps Center in 1966, but we still kept our ties back here because this is where our family was. But I just want to say, regarding TRG, T was the best. The tracks were the best. The best area to stay. And I remember we lived at 1710 Railroad Street. So just let you know, after I moved, I keep in contact, but a lot. But I do know that Georgetown has brought about a big change. I never would have ever imagined that I could get lost in Georgetown.
Can I say something? Dr. Swain, I don't know where you went. There you are. The Chautauqua events they used to have historically were so significant. It was like an intellectual gathering. It was an intellectual gathering, educational gathering. There may be some historical significance we can tie to that. I certainly have a lot of stuff on that research to show if we need some support in reaching the city about doing something to at least preserve that park. It's remarkable, the things that happen there. You should read my dissertation.
I don't know if I like, but I would just say that being a part of that TRG steering committee to look at the assets in that community. You just mentioned one, Dr. Farney, the Chautauqua. There were businesses that function. We look at the churches that are still there. We lost the school, but maybe that's because we got into the better situation. But one of the concerns I think that the steering committee addressed was how do we help people remain in their homes as long as they can? Because what we see happening today, and I don't mind getting political, Mrs. Taylor, is that we see the economic benefit of building larger homes that produce more property tax, and it forces people who've grown up in that neighborhood to have to leave, go someplace else, and lose their property. So this is an issue of current concern, and that's what I think we also need to know about and to address. And it is a political issue, for sure.
Ms. Paulette, I just want to thank you, first of all, for what you said in the video about that you lost your history when that school was tore down, and that you lost your community of mentors and teachers and so forth. That was something I hadn't thought of and reflected on, so I appreciate that so much. My question is, always at things like this, what can we do to support this information getting out, educating people about these things, support the efforts with the TRG. Besides voting, I definitely vote and I try to educate myself, but you probably have a room full of people who want to continue to help us move forward in all kinds of ways. So any of you that have answers on that, I'd love to hear it.
Thank you. I recall even the UIL trophies. Remember all of the trophies? When I went to teach at Carver in 1971, I found all of the Carver trophies, state trophies, UIL, in a box with cobwebs. And I asked the question, why are they here? Put them on display in the front of the building. And they were. I took them home and polished them. But then I asked another question. Why aren't they at the high school? They are UIL state trophies, and every one of those trophies disappeared. Disappeared. Every one of those trophies disappeared. And that was a sad situation. But you asked the question, what can we do now? I'm like Dr. Swain, let's move to the present. Let's not have division in our schools. I still talk to young people, and I talk to the school board people. There's still a divide. Eastview, Georgetown High. Do something to bring them together, to let them not be, I think the Eastview School was start getting class as a minority school versus Georgetown High. And the administration allowed them to say, this is ours when they played football. So let's do everything we can to bring them together, to have unity, so that we become the beloved community.
Throughout the documentary and even in the comments this evening, I heard the statement that they just didn't talk to us about it that much. You know, the Millers and others who, I'll say, fought the good fight. And I just want to say that when you experience something such as these individuals and yourselves did, sometimes you just got to keep it moving. And I just want to salute everyone tonight for focusing on what you had to do, what your families had to do. One of the first families I was told about here in Georgetown when I joined GCCMA, the first thing I said to Miss Paulette is, I just want to know the history. I want to know everything about Georgetown. I want to know everything about the Ridge. And she began to talk about the Millers, and then she sent me to Miss Birdie's house, Miss Shanklin. And Miss Birdie said, Alma, all of these, I've cataloged everything over there in this corner. And she had stacks of photo books and albums for me to just start scanning and looking through. I would still be there today. And I say that as a tribute, that sometimes when we're going through, we can't afford to focus on the hurts and the struggles and tell our children, because they want to focus on the result. We want them to see the result of what they experience. And so I'm just going to say thank you for sharing. It has been a delight for me to be here this evening, but through the years volunteering and learning about the African American history, I just had a conversation this week with Ms. Francis in this audience, and I said, you know what? The African American experience in Georgetown is rich. And the story continues to be told. It needs to be told. It needs to be taught. It needs to be shared, because there are generations of families in this community who continue to go on and thrive and do well. So I just wanted to salute each of you this evening and thank you.
Hello, I'm in mic training, so forgive me. I have a question. Since we're on political, do you have any stories about any African Americans in Georgetown who tried to run in political office, like for mayor, Congress, and such, and even on the school board? Do you have any of those stories?
No, I don't.
Yeah. Winfred Bonner was on the school board, right, Paula? Is that Paula right there?
City Council?
No. Shelley Davis.
Shelley Davis, yes.
Shelley Davis, young Shelley Davis. Our Michael Jackson. When you remember our little Michael Jackson? Shelley Davis ran. Winfred Bonner was on the school board. Winfred Bonner was also an educator. If you would come to the Shotgun House, you would see that little bio and a picture of Winfred Bonner. Sharon Sanders Webster, attorney, was on the school board here in Georgetown as well. Can you think of any other? There were a lot of activists that wound up at the school board, but none of them run office. Who? Who? No, he was administrator. He was no. Yeah, he was an administrator hired by the school district.
Oh, yes, I did. I just want to kind of piggyback on the young lady. Aunt Birdie is my birdie. Aunt Birdie's my aunt. And it reminds me of my dad, because it's the same way. He passed away in 2020, and I'm still going through his stuff, you know. And the key thing about it, because he was so involved not only here in Georgetown, but also in San Marcos. So when I go through his stuff, I have all these different stacks. Georgetown, San Marcos, Gary Job Corps, Greater Bethel Baptist Church. So I'm going through and constantly bringing boxes to Paulette, putting it on her porch, say, okay, here's some Georgetown stuff. Today I shared with Geneva Fisher because we were talking about Rocky Hollow, and I know y'all probably remember Lester Fisher. Yes, and I was showing her somebody. I said, I can't give it to you because it's promised to somebody else, but you can take a picture of it. But my dad has a lot too, so I'm still going through that, and I'm filtering it down to Georgetown to make sure that that history is kept. Because I know when the rapture come and I'm gone, I don't know what my nieces and nephews going to do with that stuff. So I want to make sure it's in its proper place.
I think I can say that Megan Firestone and I are both very interested in anything that you want to share. So you've shared so much already. You and your sister Tricia have many of the photographs that were in here of your parents, Harvey and Arabelle.
Hi, I'm reacting to something that I think I heard you say a while ago. First, Chautauqua Park is along Scenic Drive, right? On the river? West 7th. And why are you said benches were taken away? For a reason? Was it for a reason?
Oh, gosh. There was a gathering of our homeless population. And of course, TRG, not just me alone, have constantly spoken with our city councilman and the council about redoing because Edna Powell, there's an Edna Powell pavilion. Edna Powell worked for Jay Pickle. And through that, and her daughter's name is Maydella Hilliard, the Maydella Hilliards. But we had those pavilions, the park where families would gather during the week. I live around the corner on 8th Street, so I see almost anyone that goes to Chautauqua Park. And for nearly over 2 years now, all the picnic benches, because we had a watch night there when Dale Ross was mayor. We had a campaign and watch night there. Everybody showed up, fire trucks, everyone. But right now, it's been stricken with the stripped of the picnic benches, the pavilion that they charged. Everything is gone.
The restaurant's been closed.
And the rest, excuse me?
Yeah, the restaurant's been closed.
Absolutely, and the restrooms have been closed, there's no access. And we have constantly, am I right, Christina? You know, we've talked about it. And so we've asked the city, and they kept saying, well, we're gonna move the pavilion up closer to 7th Street to avoid the homeless gathering, but nothing has been done. So that's on our list for TRG.
Any other comments, thoughts, questions?
I don't have a question, I have a comment. And those who know me, I always have a comment, and I apologize up front. Oh, thank you.
going back to the information that was earlier about the things that were wrong with the schools, and when they built what was then the junior high on Williams Drive that later became Northside and then McCoy, and they built it at the same time that they built Carver. That's why the two schools looked alike. My husband worked for a plumber, not Jelly Caskey, I'm sorry, Williams, Soupy and Jelly were his bosses. Anyway, worked for Soupy Williams and got a phone call. And when my husband went to work one morning, he said, "John, you got the jackhammer." My husband jackhammered the biology lab and the chemistry lab at Carver before school started because the people who built it, the contractors, did not put any plumbing in the concrete slabs where those two labs, or maybe there were four, I think there were just two labs. And for 2 weeks, he was running the jackhammer and he'd come home just like this. And for a month after that, he had the most splitting headache you have ever seen. So that was my husband's contribution to the new Carver School back in 1964. And it was true, they had no plumbing in the science labs. And maybe home ec, I don't know. Did you all have home ec in that building?
We had home ec in the old Army barracks building.
Okay.
See, I graduated '64.
Okay.
So the barracks building was the home
Well,
economic.
anyway, he was there on a daily basis, 24/7, just about for almost 2 weeks.
Right.
To help them get plumbing for the chemistry and the science labs.
And for those who don't know, this is Paula Derfler, who taught in the GISD for what, 49?
Oh, don't shortchange me.
40,
girl.
50?
50.
50 years, and her husband.
50. And
her husband was also
these
mayor.
are two of my students. These are two of my wonderful students, and you all have no idea how much I enjoyed when integration occurred. I was oblivious to what was going on. I was fresh out of college, had just married, was teaching, and my two students at voluntary integration were Mittie Huddleston in 6th grade English and Newell Briggs, and all I can remember was he was in the band. We had a band at the junior high.
Paula, aren't
What-
you a native of Georgetown?
Am I what?
A native of Georgetown, Doc Wheeler.
I absolutely am. My maiden name was Wheeler. My father was a doctor, and with Dr. Bonneau also, he served the colored people in Georgetown. And a great funny thing, y'all can leave on this if you want, we were taken care of by the most wonderful colored women you could ever imagine when my father died, when we were very young. And the one I remember the most was a lady named Sister Tiggs. And for those of you who may remember Sister, she was a hoot and a holler. But she had all sorts of tricks to keep us in line. But special days, we got to go and sit in the balcony with Sister and her friends at the Palace Theater. And I would always have 2 or 3 people calling me up on Friday, "Is Sister taking you all to the show on Saturday?" And they would want to go. So I was very, very thankful in my childish thanking ways of being privileged to know a lot of these folks at a very early age. And I think Paulette and I were actually twins separated at birth. We talked about that one time. She wouldn't accept it, I would. You don't want to be my twin?
Well, thank you so much for coming. I think I'm hoping folks will stick around a little longer if you want to ask any individual questions, but I just appreciate you being here, and we will be sharing this on, we got one question here.
Not a question.
Okay,
I have very few questions.
okay, we got one more.
I wanted to remind everybody that tomorrow, February the 27th, between 3 and 5 at the Carver Center for Families. Paulette Taylor is going to be recognized for her leadership in this town at the dedication of the Paulette Taylor Legacy Room.
Another note, that legacy room is where we filmed most of this. You might have noticed that. Also, the library at the former Carver School, which is the former West Side School, which is the school that was built with the bond that passed for the new black school. So, and now it's going to be the Paulette Taylor Legacy Room. So there's some nice circularity in all this. And yes, 3 o'clock tomorrow, Carver Center for Families. Be there. Thank you for being here. We will be sharing this on YouTube. We'll make it available, so for those who can be here, we want people to know this story, and thank you for sharing that. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it.